Today's guest is gonna blow your mind. She's already blowing my mind. I'm so thrilled to have her here. She's been called the modern day medical intuitive, and for good reason. Katie Beecher can paint a picture of your emotional and physical health using only your name and age before she even meets you. Yeah, like how crazy is that? And she's helped thousands of people heal on every level. And she's here to show us, me too, how intuition, self-love, and emotional awareness can transform not just our health, but our relationships too. And that's what we're looking for here. So So we're going to talk about how your love life and your health are secretly intertwined and what your body might be trying to tell you about your relationships. Why aging can actually be your superpower. Like, don't we really want to tap into that? And it's when you listen to your intuition instead of all the noise, your friends, your family, and all the stuff you're seeing on social media. How powerful. And how to spot red flags and attract the true connection that I know you are yearning for by trusting your inner wisdom instead of the fears. And when we were talking right before we got on here, I said, wow, can you kind of tap into me? Like, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What's coming through? And so I don't know what's going to come up, but we're definitely going to be playing and sharing all this. And at the end, and maybe even throughout, she might be getting some hits on me. What might she say in here? Well, I'm excited, and I'm so thrilled to have you here, Katie. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Me too. I don't think I've ever had a medical intuitive. I know I've read about them. I know I've ooh, wouldn't that be cool? And to tie it to love and relationships, that's so exciting. So you say that our love life actually impacts our physical, emotional, and spiritual health. Connect the dots for us, because I'm curious.
Sure. It's all of our relationships have a huge impact on our emotional, physical, and spiritual health. And when I start a reading on someone, so with just a name and age, I create a report and painting, my guides, my intuitive guides, often point out that the person is either unhappy in their relationship or has ended a relationship, or there's been a death or a loss or something like that. And that's just a piece of it, because they also bring up physical and emotional symptoms and traumas and all kinds of things. But what's fascinating to me is that somebody might come to me for various reasons, but let's say it's a physical issue, emotional issue, and they're so focused on the traditional medical model of, I just want to fix these symptoms or Band-Aid or get to the physical stuff, that when we go through the report and my guides talk about, or I will say, what's going on in your relationship? Or do you feel comfortable being yourself in your relationship? Do you have a voice? You know, how do right? Big one, big one.
Yeah, huge for women. Huge for
Huge.
women. Afraid of rocking the boat, afraid of expressing too much, too fast, too this, too that.
Exactly. So they're surprised, that my guides even picked it up, but they sometimes will be like, well, yeah, that's been a problem for a while, or it's something I'm trying to figure out, but what does that have to do with the physical issue I'm having? And
Yeah.
I've seen it so many times that whether it's through your relationships or whatever, if you are not happy in your life, If you are in a relationship that you are not being seen and heard, you can't speak up, you're not being honored, you're being abused, all of the things, right? Even if you're just unhappy, but you can't really pinpoint it, like I've had people say, he's not a bad guy, or, she's fine, but I'm just not happy. And is that enough reason to end a relationship?
Ooh, yeah.
So inevitably, these same people will have all different health issues. And because we are all different and because our bodies reflect our feelings, if you will, in all different sorts of ways, right? The symptoms vary. So it's not just that if you're unhappy in your relationship, you will get a stomach ache. It's anything. But I have learned the more that you ignore your intuition, the more you ignore the red flags of not being happy or there's something wrong, the more severe, the stronger your symptoms have to be to get your attention.
To wake you up. Oh my God. Yes, 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 yes. I don't have guides that are guiding me. At least I don't hear them or feel them. So I'm thrilled to understand more about how
Yes.
you work. However, I will say that, and a lot of people listening and watching may not know this, I was an acupuncturist. I'm still licensed as an acupuncturist. And so many people would come to me with all this pain in their body and all the things someone would go to an acupuncturist for. And I kept hearing about the stress of their life, how much they were not happy in their marriage or their work. And then I found the body of work that I do now because I realized, oh my gosh, I'm putting a Band-Aid, and acupuncture is great. Acupuncture has totally wonderful, what's the word? Merit. And yet, if people weren't really getting to the root of why they even have the pain, what was I actually doing? And that's when I shifted gears. I'm like, I've got to help people really see what their life is how the life is contributing to their actual symptoms. And that's so very similar there's a lot more going on to people's wellness than the symptoms, like what's really behind it.
And it goes really deep because
It
if
does.
you are in a relationship where you're not happy or you're being abused or harmed in some way or any of those things, number one, it affects how you feel about yourself. So there's shame. There's, why did I stay in this for so long? Is it hurting my kids? Is leaving hurting my kids? What do I do with that? There's so much overthinking and emotional turmoil and trying to figure out what other people might say or do if you get out of that relationship, for example.
Yeah.
There's so much to it. And no one gets into a relationship or a marriage saying, ooh, I can't wait to get divorced. I can't wait till we break up.
Haven't heard that one yet. It's more
So,
like, wow, I never saw this coming. Wow.
yeah, so
Yeah.
even if it's under the best of circumstances, it's really hard and it's overwhelming to think about. And there's all these steps and finances and all,
Yeah, all the
So,
human stuff. Yeah.
correct. And it's a big decision. And so I really believe that you do not need to have any special abilities to have intuition. I don't believe that at all. Even medical intuition, and we can get into that. But we are getting intuitive hits all the time, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical symptoms, just something somebody else says to you. You might see a commercial, you might hear a song, whatever, but intuition is coming to us at all times, right? And if it is prompting you to think about something really difficult and overwhelming, like ending a serious relationship, the tendency is to push it down because it's
Yeah.
too hard.
Yeah.
But what happens then is all intuition then gets pushed down because we don't differentiate between good and bad. It's just you either are open to those signals or you shut it down. So then there's all these other implications in terms of being disconnected from your body, being afraid of your symptoms, shutting down any sort of physical or emotional stuff going on. And by paying attention to the quality of your relationships, how happy or unhappy you are, it really literally impacts your entire life.
I'm right there with you. And I have a follow-up question on this. Well, we have a bunch of questions, but with specifically this, I'm a love and relationship expert, and people more than not are women, second half of life, that are like, I really want a new relationship. I want to do it differently. I want a new partner. But they did do exactly what you're saying. They squashed their voice, and they weren't honoring who they really were. They were navigating choppy waters, and now they don't necessarily trust themselves. They say they can't trust anybody else, but ultimately they feel like they've betrayed themselves by not really honoring that gut of, I don't think this is a good idea to stay, or all the things that you just said. So what might you offer to that woman, maybe even of a first step on how to start to repair and reconnect to that inner guidance system, because it's there, but there's been a lack of access to it for all the things we're talking about?
That's such an awesome question, and there are so many directions I could take it. And there's a lot of ways in my book to, like, tools and things like that to connect to intuition. And I can share some of those. But I think, so to get started, one of the things that I suggest to people is start making a list, ongoing running list on your phone or whatever, of things about you. And I am not talking about earth-shattering things, although those can be too, but even things like, what color are your eyes? What color is your hair? What do you like to do? You hate broccoli, or you love creme brulee, or whatever.
Love creme brulee.
Me too, right? So all of the little things about you. And the more you start thinking that way of what is authentic to me, what means something to me, what is important, what are things that I just hate and maybe you do anyway, right? You really start guiding your thoughts and your actions into, is what I'm doing authentic? Is what I'm doing meaningful? And as you are faced with little things that come up all day long, maybe it's you're sitting with your partner or whatever, watching TV, and they want to watch something, and you've just gone along with it, and we do that. I mean, it's fine to do that sometimes, right? But you just do it all the time. You always go along with it, or you always go along with what they want to eat, or whatever. And you're thinking differently now. Now you're thinking, how do I feel about that? Is that
Yes.
authentic to me? And so it's uncomfortable, because then you realize, wait a minute, this isn't me. And now what do I do about that? But it gets you thinking about who you are, what you need, what you want. And if you bring it up into your consciousness, into your voice, it then releases it from your body. So, like, my bat signal is my gut. And right, I wrote that down about you, by the way. Okay. And where to God.
My own bat signal in my
you
gut. And I do. And it shines. It goes
Right. And I have been doing this work, doing this insight stuff, growing my own, crap, since I was 16. But to this day, right, I don't like letting anxiety run the show. And so it's a fine line between allowing those feelings and figuring it out, and then just being like, okay, it's there, just, don't worry about it. But I can always feel it in my gut. It's just often before I'm even aware of it. So everybody has their sensitive areas. And for you, it might be, I don't know, you get a headache or something else, but everybody's different.
Right.
So to get to know your body is another part of being authentic and figuring out who you are.
What's your bat signal?
Right.
Where does it live? I loved everything you said, and I think it's like what you just said, and I really want to underline that exercise is the beginning of connecting the dots to actually really see who you are and what is important to you, and notice how you're feeling. Notice how you might not be in sync with the very things that bring you joy. I think that's a wonderful exercise. It's a great way to get reintroduced to who you are. And that's one of the things so important with women in the second half of life, because it's a whole new chapter. And if they're starting over, it's like, whoa. Let's go to self-acceptance, because in addition to the self-betrayal and not being able to speak up, there's something about women really being able to drop into their authenticity, especially as we age, especially as our boobs are sagging and our bodies are changing. What might you offer around that relationship of being able to really honor the journey and where we are now?
I really don't like when the media or the medical community or whatever labels you with certain characteristics or things based on how old you are, based on a number. That really irritates me. Um, right. Um, and what happens from that, I'm 60. I happen to be a competitive pole dancer. I've won
Wow.
competitions. Okay.
Wow.
If somebody had told me, 10 years ago I'd be doing this, I'd be like, you're insane. Aside from the fact that you have to basically wear a bikini, and I recovered from an eating disorder, I'd be like, you're really insane. That's not going to happen. But it did. And so that is just age myth busting right there. Often you go to a doctor's office and they, you are a certain age, male, women, male, female, whatever. And let's say your blood pressure's elevated a little bit or something like that. Now, that could be because you walked into the doctor's office and there's something called white coat syndrome, which is when your blood pressure gets elevated as soon as you walk in there. And that's not a true indicator of your blood pressure. But because you're X number of ages, they put you on a blood pressure med.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just one example, but it's also like, oh, you're a certain age, you have arthritis. Well, maybe you don't have arthritis. Maybe you have Lyme disease, or maybe you fell, or maybe whatever. But to think about, again, this authenticity piece of who you are, what you want. Don't let age define you. Don't let other people's expectations of age define you. And this really comes into play in relationships, because I work with a lot of people in their 50s and 60s, and I've been in this marriage for 20, 30, 40 years. What am I going to do? Can I support myself? Or what are people going to think? Or, oh my God, I don't want to date. Well, yeah, duh, like that's not fun, right?
Well, I'm going to swing in here for a second and say dating can be so much fun.
It can.
Dating could be so awesome, but most of the people have not done the inner work, the emptying out of the old baggage, come to this place of self-acceptance and excitement and clarity about who they are now, and then have the chops, the strategies for dating. Because I mean, this is my wheelhouse, but most of the time, you're absolutely right. People hate dating.
Or there's a fear, like you said, there's this fear that doesn't need to be there, or they don't feel good about themselves, or maybe the spark is out of their relationship and they just, am I even attractive anymore?
Yeah.
All of those things. And plus throw in the fact that we don't have the same hormones anymore. And maybe like, I love hormone replacement, and it's really nice to have a sex drive.
Me too. I'm absolutely loving it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just because we are a certain age or have these expectations doesn't mean that you can't change, or that
Yeah.
I love what you sort of started to talk about, how as we get older, we don't care as much about what people think. And that is super important. It's also, there are some physiological reasons for that, as I'm sure having less estrogen activates the pineal gland, and that controls some of your sensitivities and things. So as we get older, for a lot of reasons, we literally care less. And that's a really good thing. So, um, yeah, I really like that what I do on the pole or in my life or all of this, it affects people in their 20s and 30s. And because when I go to class, it's all different ages. And it's so refreshing when the younger girls are like, you're my goals. I want to be like you. I don't want to be held back. It's so nice to see you being strong and, assertive and feeling good about themselves. So I'm kind of like the boundary mom at the studio. Sometimes I teach boundaries.
That's great. I think that's so great. And the myths you just mentioned, and the fact that we need to be careful with what we're consuming when it comes to information and what we think we're supposed to be like because we've hit a certain age. Oh, well, I'm getting older. Of course, I'm a little more tired or a little more creaky or whatever it is. And some things are just, okay, we're human, right? We're going to age to some extent. And I'm really conscious of what kind of self-talk and what kind of labels I put on myself that are limiting because of my age. I'm like, yeah, that's, I'm not going to go for that ride just because everybody else is saying that, because that's not a reality that I either choose to accept, or at least I'm curious about how might I do this differently. And I think people forget to have that agency to question what people are actually buying into when it comes to aging. Well, that's just the way my vagina is going to be. I'm never going to enjoy sex ever again. Well, that's going to be true if you hang your hat there,
Right. And maybe because you are freer, you don't have to worry about birth control, you don't have to worry about all these things. Maybe your love life can be spicier and you
Yes.
can try toys and you can do all these things. I
Yeah.
know mine has gotten better as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it can be like that.
Me too. Me too. And even just going back to the original, the connection between health and intuition and all the things that we were talking about. I just had a doctor appointment. I quarterly have a session with my functional doctor. And I'm like, I am feeling so great. And yes, HRT has been this year of HRT. Yes, yes, I'm so grateful, including testosterone and all the goodies. And to his credit, he said, yes, it sounds like it's really helping you. And he said, don't discount that you're in an awesome relationship. And I gave him so much credit for that, because the reality is for the first time in my entire life, I get to relax and completely be myself without consequences. I mean, I had learned to be myself, but sometimes there were consequences in being myself. And I have this partner that just shows up for me in all the juicy ways, and we're just great together. And it's affected me. There's no doubt about it. I am relaxed. My nervous system has adjusted, and I'm free. I'm free to just fully show up. And you're right, when my gut is not happy, the warning, the bat signal, it's like, okay, what's going on? What do I need to know for myself, process, and then having a conversation with my partner. So it's all of this. It's really listening, owning, dialing in the hormones if you need to, and to be educated. And I really encourage everybody that's listening, especially women, 50s and 60s, educate yourself about menopause, perimenopause. Some of you know I'm on another podcast called the Menopause Love Lounge. Go there if you haven't been there yet, because there are things that we could be doing to support ourselves, including what we're talking about here around really deeply listening.
And don't let what one doctor says limit you either.
Yes.
Because I had somebody from a very prestigious clinic in where I live say, you've been on these hormones for quite a while. We should probably talk about taking you off of them. And I said, you are going to take them out of my cold, dead hands. And literally,
Look out.
stone cold. And she said,
Wow.
okay, message received. And I said, no, I'm absolutely serious, because why should I have to stop feeling good and not have the same quality of life or better that I had when I was younger, because people think menopause is a disease or something that you have to suffer through. And I said, I told her, I said, that's not the conventional thinking anymore. I mean, it is to an extent, but like, I don't ever want to not have energy or not feel good or not, who wants to dry up? And then it also affects your bones and your skin
and
and
our
all these
mental
things.
health and all the
Oh,
things, cardiovascular, like the list
right.
goes on. And I'm
Right.
pissed. I really am pissed. It's like
Yeah.
nobody told me this because of that stupid thing that happened that said, oh, it's dangerous, it's dangerous. But are you up on the fact that they took away the black box a couple of
Yes.
days ago? Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, there used to be, when you open up any medication, there's the paperwork that says this can happen and this can happen. Well, with HRT, there was this big box of all these warnings, and it's just not true anymore. They have more valid information. The studies in the past about breast cancer, not there anymore. And they took it away a few days ago. And that's what we're talking about here is question, be curious. Don't just listen to one person. If it's not landing on you, do some research, reach out, because menopause, seriously, like there are so few providers that have been well versed in actually how to support us in the next 40, 50 years of our life. I mean, it's insane, but hey, I'm late to the party, but here I am.
No, and also we can have hormone disruption or problems at any age.
Yes.
And I started on unopposed estrogen at the age of 29. Okay.
Unopposed meaning no progesterone with it?
Correct.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
estrogen. And it was because 2 year or a year and a half after I had my first child, I had a nervous breakdown. And the psychiatrist was like, oh my God, you're bipolar, you're all this stuff. Fortunately, I had a very old school gynecologist who said, wait a minute, that's not what this is. This is postpartum. And I had never heard of it being that late, but she said, let's try you on some estrogen. And, I had PCOS that I did not know I had. So my hormones were whacked out. And I've even had a doctor recently say, well, because I had to have a hysterectomy, having nothing to do with that. But, oh, did you have to have a hysterectomy because you were on just estrogen? And I said, no, not at all. Like, that's what my body needed. So be open to hormonal needs, changes, whatever, at any age. And
Yeah.
it doesn't, a lot of people have said, well, I don't really need them yet. I'm not 50, or I still get a period. I'm like, oh no, honey, you need to start before that,
Yeah. And that's why I'm pissed off. So we're talking about a lot of different things, but at the core of this, we're talking about trusting ourselves and tapping into intuition. And especially tapping into intuition for those that are really wanting to attract new love as well as have a wonderful partnership and friends. Because women, we love our friends. How might we strengthen that connection?
So one thing I do want to say really quickly is that you and I are fortunate enough to have really amazing relationships. My husband's
Can you read that in me, or is it just my words?
But yeah,
Lucky us.
that
Yeah.
is amazing. This is my
Yeah.
second marriage, blah, blah, blah. So for those of you who are later in life or whatever, our lives, our motivation that yes, you can start over, and it's worth going through all the pain of starting over because it makes a difference. So I would love to teach something in my book. It's one of my favorite ways to connect to intuition in your body.
Nice.
And this is something I learned when I was 16 and dying from an eating disorder. And the general concept of intuition, as I like to teach it, is that it's an all-knowing force connected to unconditional love and acceptance. It's like having a built-in best friend. Somebody
I
that
love
knows
that.
somebody that knows everything about you and loves and accepts you anyway. Right?
Yes.
Always there for you. Even if you're by yourself, you're never alone because you have this force. And one of the most important things about it is the more that you get what you need from your intuition, guides, spirit, it's all interchangeable, the less important it is what other people are doing and saying and thinking. So it helps you set boundaries and feel like an individual. So that's the premise. The technique is to physically write out a question of your thoughts or feelings and direct it to whatever you call your intuition. When I started, it was generic God. It can be a pet in spirit, somebody in spirit. It could be the universe. It could be whatever works for you, just a loving feeling. And so you write out your thing. And then whatever comes to you after you write that down and then write back to it. And then whatever you get, write that down and write back to it. So you're having a written conversation. Now, so much about this. So the first thing is doing it in writing makes it more powerful because you have to stop what you're doing to write. Most of us run around like crazy people with 8 million things on our minds. You are just sitting with your piece of paper. You are using your body so you get more intuitive hits. It's a mindfulness meditation. We're just in this moment, you're less likely to be distracted by the past or the future or what you're having for dinner. So just that in and itself is valuable. And then people always ask, how do I know if it's my intuition or just a voice in my head or making up, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So my answer is it doesn't matter, because when you have time alone with yourself, you're going to have thoughts and feelings that come in that you might have been pushing down or avoiding. So listening to those, and maybe those are being guided by your intuition. So it's just as important as some kind of ethereal guidance or whatever. And it's also really important to listen to the scary stuff that comes in, which is not necessarily fear, although our fears are important too. So just be open to whatever comes. If something scary comes in, like, I have to get out of this relationship.
It's like, ah!
Right? Or I
Yeah.
need to speak up, or I need to make changes or something. Instead of being afraid of it and pushing it down, have a conversation with that. Say,
Love
okay,
that.
I hear you. I see you. Why am I afraid of you? Why am I afraid of this? What are my blocks? What can I do? What's one little step I can do toward paying attention to this? And then also give yourself the grace of saying, right at this very moment, that's too much. It's overwhelming. I don't know what to do with that. I'm going to check in with you in a couple days. So I'm not ignoring you. And then it takes some of the pressure off of feeling like you automatically have to listen to when your intuition, tells you really scary stuff, because you're in control of the process. There's a lot more in my book about that and prompts and all that kind of stuff.
And we're going to put the link to your book, and we still have a lot more to talk about, and for her to tap into what's going on with me. So don't go anywhere. But please, what's the name of your book right now? So because we keep saying about your book.
Heal from Within, a guidebook to intuitive wellness.
Okay, great. So we'll definitely put that in the show notes. What I love about that, well, I love a lot of things about that. It's not just we're in our head and thinking throughout the day and going, I wonder what I should do, or what do I think about this? Having quality, slow time to be with yourself. And then the other piece that I want to underline is when you're writing, your unconscious comes through, your intuition comes through, the wisdom that is inside of you, you're giving it a space, you're giving it a voice that we cannot do just in our head. And so writing definitely opens us up to such deeper understanding of what's really going on. It's one of the reasons people love working with me, because I'm kind of that for them with the questions that with my facilitation and my shadow work background, to help them go, oh, I didn't see that. I didn't think about that. And to help them continue to unfold. So this is a wonderful tool when somebody may not be working with me or you and really is like, what's going on? I'm feeling whatever it is. What's this about? And to dialogue with higher power, whatever you want to call it, and be curious. And like you said, we're in control. We don't have to do anything. Let's just see what's there. Let's pull back the covers and actually see what's underneath in our operating system that's running our life. I love that.
And you don't need a lot of time. You can take 5 minutes. I've written in my car on a napkin,
Right.
like
Right.
it's not something you have to devote a time to, or even write complete sentences, or, and at first it's weird. If you get 1 or 2 words, cool, ask for more information. When I first started, I was like, what the hell am I doing? But it's just another tool to kind of tune in and help calm your nervous system too.
Beautiful. I love it. So again, we're talking about diving in and going into our body. Are there some classic signs or symptoms or sensations in our body that might be indicating something is off, something unhealthy with our relationship, or maybe the person sitting across the table from us on a date and we're maybe not on the right path? What might those be?
So I have to say it varies for every person
Yeah.
because we all have our vulnerable areas. And those might be genetic. It might be learned behavior. It might be that is not the strongest part of your body or something like that. So there's a lot of reasons of why our signals come from where they do. Having said that, the gut is a really common one. A lot of people, and it might be just a little rumbling. It might be a little nausea. It might be just, holding your breath is a big one. So, because holding your breath is a sign that you are trying to control things and push them down.
Yeah.
If you're breathing freely, you're kind of less trying to control. I mean, basically,
Yeah.
because
Versus
you're
bracing
allowing
yourself, like if you're on a roller coaster, you might not be breathing so relaxed. You're
exactly.
holding on really tightly. So it makes sense that if you're breathing smoothly, you're relaxed, you're more open, that your nervous system isn't going, be alert, be alert, be alert.
Exactly. And neck things are also super common. So even thyroid. So the throat area is fifth chakra, and that has to do with expression. So if you are not allowing your own feelings, number one, which is the first step of expressing yourself, is to know what you're feeling. If you're not allowing your own feelings, if you're not getting them out, then your throat might start to close up or slow down or get scratchy or even acid reflux, right? Your things are trying to come up and they get pushed back down.
Wow. Yeah.
Insomnia is a huge one because
Yeah.
when you are trying to go to sleep, right, you're less likely to be distracted by what's going on around you. And so your brain starts going and your feelings start going. And it can be tough and it can wake you up at night. So, what I recommend to people is to try to have the courage to be in their bodies. So, allow your symptoms. Health anxiety is a huge, huge issue.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes from feeling like our bodies are out of control, our health is out of control, things are happening to us instead of us being empowered. And it's sort of counterintuitive to think that if you focus on your body, that your anxiety will lessen. But it actually does, because your body can be your friend and a tool instead of being like, oh my God, I'm afraid of what's going to happen or the next time I go to the doctor, or I can't read a blood test, or, avoiding that. So be aware maybe of, like, think about in your life, if things have upset you or you've had traumas or whatever, are there any kind of recurring symptoms that you've had? Maybe that's your signaling, or things that you've learned, from your family. But it can literally be anything. That's the fun and crazy part.
That's the getting to know how we tick, what really are our signals, and really going, what's that about? So I love that. Okay, I'm about to go on the roller coaster. What do you see in me? What do you want to tell me? Do you see anything? Are you intuiting anything?
So the first thing I wrote down when I first started talking to you was gut. That your gut is really reactive, and that's your bat signal. I felt like you might have some histamine sensitivities. And histamine sensitivities can come out in a ton of different ways, like throughout your whole body. Sometimes they can show themselves of what looks like food sensitivities, but it's actually histamines. So there's a lot you can do about that, but there's a long list of, if you Google histamine foods, there's a very long list of healthy foods that you might be reacting to, like fermented things. I wrote down that you have medical intuitive abilities.
What am I seeing in you? Hold on.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
And I keep getting directed to, I am seeing your second and third chakra areas. So gut, female organs, hips, that whole thing, especially in that second chakra. And it looks like it's like there's like a darkness. That doesn't sound good, but it's okay. Kind of like an open space in there. So I was wondering if you've had any procedures or things like that in that the female regions area. It feels kind of emotionally charged, like there's been some trauma there, which can mean a lot of different things without getting super personal.
Sure.
And it feels like an area like your hips being tight, but I also feel like you really tune in there and try to work on that and recognize it, and that sometimes your one side of your body can be a little higher than the other. So there's always sort
Oh,
of
that's so true.
right.
Yeah.
So there's always this balancing and
Yeah.
trying to find a neutral and things like that. And then the second chakra too is about male and female energy and power. So you have done a ton of work on reversing some of the people in your life who have not respected female power and energy. And you've done a lot of healing around that and around finding your own female power and energy. And so that's just, I could go on, but that's just kind of.
Yeah, and spot on, totally. And I'm still doing the healing work as I
Exactly.
share to everybody. I'm like, I'm not on the top of the mountain. I was in many relationships with many guys that gave me a lot of negativity, a lot of words, a lot of judgments about my body. I've been a woman in this culture that needed to wake up to me. And from walking on eggshells in my 20-year marriage and unable to really share my voice to being able to where I am now. I mean, that's why I do the work I do, because it's painful in our bodies, in our hearts, in our being when we're not being in sync with our soul, our true nature. So yeah, a lot of second chakra, and building the third to be able to go, I've got this and I've got me, and to have it reflected back with my partner, because that's what we have. So spot on. And I know people are like, that was really cool. That was like 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. How do I get a reading? Because I've got some things and I don't know what's going on. And do you actually do that with other people, and how might they find you?
I do. It's one of my favorite things to do. I've been doing this for a very long time. My website is Katie Beecher, KatieBeecher.com. And you can get my book anywhere. There's a link on my website to it, but it's anywhere. You can make your appointment. There's a couple of different options for appointments depending on whether you want to report in painting or not.
Painting? Wow, what's that?
So it's an intuitive soul painting. That is, I can put one up. I'm going to cover the name. This is just one example of.
So for those of you that are listening, it's like colorful, and there's like this woman's body with this big heart, and it's really cool. You might want to come over to the YouTube channel and check this out, because it was very neat. That was really cool.
There's examples of it in my book, and I teach people how to do these paintings in my book too. But it's it's a symbolic way of telling people information and me getting it without words, which is kind of fun. But yes, so you can go to my website, make your appointments. I'm offering a special discount for the listeners and viewers, and it's $25 off with, I believe the code is $25 off. That's in the show notes. Oh, good. Okay. And so,
and you got it. It's 25, the $, and then capitals OFF, just to say. But we'll put that in the show notes. Yes, wonderful.
Great. So yeah, it's one of my most favorite things to do, and
Ah, what a
people,
service.
they get a lot just from one reading. It's not like you have to book a whole mess of them. Some people have one and they're like, cool, I'm going to build on that. And other people I see
Mm.
more often, but you can get a lot out of just one session.
Sounds amazing. Sounds like a great opportunity. And I'm thrilled that I got a taste of it. My gosh, that was so awesome. Wow, medical intuitive. Maybe I have another hat to wear now. Like I don't have enough hats to wear.
Well, I felt like when you were doing your acupuncture work that you would
Mm,
pick up on things,
yeah.
and maybe not even as much as you were consciously aware of.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I actually think, that's, you're onto something there. Because one of the things I used to say as an acupuncturist, not necessarily to my patients, but it's like, I'm an okay acupuncturist, but there's something I'm bringing that is not in the book. And I always felt that there was something else that I was bringing energetically, intuitively, but I didn't have that language. So, and that took me from a B plus acupuncturist to people still drive over an hour to come to me. I still have a few older patients, so it makes sense to me. Katie, this was so cool. Thank you so much for your wisdom and sharing what is possible when we really tune in. Because when we really tune in, we get to really call the shots of how we want our life to be and with whom. And I really value your message here. It's really special.
Thank you so much for having me. And if one person got something out of it and does something that scares them, then that's a great thing.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So thank you so much. And for those of you that have been listening and watching, I'm sure you got some golden nuggets. Please be sure to like and subscribe so that this station can reach more people. And seriously, if you had a hit on this and you think this was beneficial to you, think about your friends as well. Share the episode because we covered a lot of ground from really honoring yourself and self-acceptance all the way to menopause and beyond. Menopause and beyond. So I highly recommend you think about who might benefit from this wonderful episode. And until we meet again, mwah. One more thing before you go. Have you taken my Discover Your Love Avatar quiz? It's a 2-minute quiz that can help you not only know your strengths, your superpower, because you have one, also identify some of your blind spots, some of the things that might be having you in your fear, having you behaving in ways that aren't in alignment with your highest self, the way you want to be when it comes to dating and relationships. And it'll also help you discover why maybe the stars haven't lined up for you yet. Bottom line is, you take this 2-minute quiz, you get a full report in your email with details on how to move forward in next level love, whether you want a partner or not. So you can go to midlifeloveoutloud.com/love quiz. The link is in the show notes as well. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to the station, I'm going to encourage you to do that too, so you don't miss any episodes. And I hope you got a ton out of today's. See you next week. Mwah.